Again, ignore the mess in the background, please. Just focus on me. Today's video, I want to talk about being a late bloomer, which I am. Yes, I am a late bloomer. Um, so I'm very passionate about this because it ties into a lot of things that are very personal for me. So I've talked about this on this channel before. I had a lot of pain in my life, and some of it came from my childhood. Some of it came from my early adulthood. There were certain events that have happened in my life, and I feel like I'm writing a book. By the way, I've been writing it for the longest, but um, I want to share the stories there fully because part of the book is my stories, and so I really want to share that fully in the book. But I went into a very deep depression when I was 18 and didn't even start to come up for air when I was until I was like 21, and then I didn't fully feel like I even had my feet on the ground until I was about 25. And it felt like because of dealing with this depression that kept coming back. And when it would hit me, it would floor me. Like I would be, you know, decapacitated. Like I would be, is it incapacitated or decapacitated? Like it felt like it would paralyze me. Like I couldn't move, I couldn't do anything, I couldn't function, I couldn't go to work, I couldn't work, I couldn't go to school, I couldn't do anything other than just be in that mess. And it felt like I would blink and years are passing. And so it wasn't until maybe 2015 when I started doing my coaching training. I That's the first time, and by that time I was 30. That was the time when I started to feel like I was really starting to deal with these things, my pain and my trauma from my past. And the reason why actually that I was starting to deal with them is because when we were doing the coaching training, we would practice on each other. We actually had sessions. So it would help me deal with things. And I started to notice that as I was releasing these things, I was starting to feel lighter. And I was starting to look at them and realize that I don't have to carry these things around. I legit didn't know that I didn't have to carry this pain around. This is the thing that also makes me feel so much compassion when I see someone who looks like they can't get their shit together. I have such compassion for such people because I was that person. And the reason why I couldn't get my shit together was because I had these huge gaping holes of pain and suffering and all kinds of, limiting beliefs and gaps in my development. And I didn't know. So I didn't know that I had these gaps. I didn't know that I could live without these gaps, and I didn't know how to deal with them. I had no tools. I didn't know anything. And there was a very long season in my 20s when I was the person who couldn't get her shit together. I felt, in my perspective, I was the frustration of the family. They couldn't understand what I was going through. My friends couldn't understand it. They were moving ahead in life. People were getting jobs and getting houses and getting married and having kids. And even though I didn't want some of those things, I just seemed to stay stuck in one place. And when I look back, I'm like, I actually wasn't stuck because I was doing little things here and there, making small moves here and there, healing in certain ways here and there. But it was so excruciatingly slow and painful. So anytime I see a person like that, I'm always like, there's a reason. There's a reason behind this. People don't just give up on life because they want to give up on life. People don't just stay stuck because they want to stay stuck. In fact, if they're anything like me, they're probably beating themselves up on the inside trying to understand what the fuck is wrong with me and why can't I get out of this place. I really believed that there was something fundamentally flawed with me. And I cannot tell you the number of times I either went to bed crying or I woke up crying, just asking God to please take me back to the place where I'm supposed to be because I am a flaw. I am like an anomaly. I am like there's a glitch. I literally used to just cry and tell God, please just take me back to where I'm supposed to be, or take me back because I think you made a mistake. I think there's something missing inside me that is in other people, because everywhere I was looking, it felt like people were not dealing with the thing that I was dealing with. And I mean, what I've come to know is that that's not necessarily the case. It's just there are people who don't deal with this, but also people deal with it in a different way. It shows up in different ways. There are people who are very functional in terms of being present in their work and their jobs, and being someone in society who's contributing, but in their relationships they're falling apart. We all exhibit these things in different ways. And I mean, I just want to say, if you're watching this video and you feel like you're stuck, and I have done videos on this before in the past, I want you to know that you're not alone, first of all, and there's nothing wrong with you, and that it's possible for you to find the tools to be able to get yourself unstuck. And it doesn't mean that you failed. It doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you, that you're useless, that you'll never get it right. Please don't believe those things. That's not the case. I just wanted to say that because I wish I had understood this. I mean, everything happens in perfect timing, but I feel like if I had heard this in the midst of my stuckness, I would have really appreciated it, and yeah, it would have made me feel better. Anyway, so I was dealing with a lot of trauma and pain, right? And I didn't know that I was carrying all these things around. I just knew that I felt heavy and that I couldn't move. And sometimes, no matter how much I wanted to move, I couldn't move. And so I got to my 30s, I start my coaching training, and I start feeling lighter, and I'm just like, oh my God, do I not have to carry this pain with me? Is this not something that is my character? These are not my traits. These are things that I can let go of. Like, you're telling me that I can drop this shit and move on with my life. Like, it was so incredibly mind-blowing to me. I was just like, wow. So I really started to work, especially, it took maybe 2015 to 2017 to really come to the realization. And then 2017 was when I dove deep into myself, and I started looking at all my gaps and holes and filling them up, and reparenting myself and building myself up. And I'm by no means anywhere near done. I feel like it's a lifelong journey. But now is when I feel like I'm getting into my stride as a person. Last year was the first time that I felt like a whole individual. And for me, that was really interesting, because I was like, oh my God, it felt like my foundation was finally filled in. And I'm like, oh, so this is what it feels like to not feel hollow. This is what it feels like to not feel like your world keeps crumbling, like you're on quicksand all the time, like you've built your house on quicksand and nothing can stay stable. Like, I can actually be a functional person in the world. So I literally feel like I am starting my life now. I feel like in so many ways I'm beginning. And there has been shame for me attached to that, because there are these ideas. By the time you're 25, you should have this. By the time you're 30, you should have this. By the time you're 35, 40, there are all these ideas about where you should be at a certain age. And while logically I know that that's not possible, and while I can even look at my own life and know that there was no way that I would have been able to have any kind of stability until I dealt with the things that I needed to deal with, there's still that voice sometimes that comes in, especially when I'm with younger people who have accomplished way more. There's a voice that's like, look at you, you're so late. Like, guy, look at you, Tarude. You don't have a car. Damn, you haven't even gotten a proper house. Like you're so behind. You're so behind. And I've learned also, the voice has less power now, because I've recognized it for what it is. It's not real, and it is just it's a critic, and it comes from the ego, and it's not the full picture. And either way, I can start over 17 times in my entire life. Life isn't really about being where you are where you should be at a particular age, also because we get a lot of curveballs thrown at us, and how many times do we hear of people who had the perfect life, and it turns out that they're hit by something and it's upside down all of a sudden. So attaching to this idea that I have to be a certain way by a certain age, it's not really a reality. That's not really how things work. We are where we are when we are there. And sometimes one of the things that I used to ask a lot is, why did you make me like this? I would be in bed, and if I wasn't crying, asking, please return me to where I belong, I was crying, asking, why the hell did you make me like this? Because why can't I fit? Why can't I fit into this world? Why can't I just be the person that I'm supposed to be and follow the path that I'm supposed to follow? And I would look at the people around me who would be doing that path, and I used to be so fascinated. I even asked a couple of people, how do you do this? Like, you just did it. You did it. You did the school, and you did the uni, and you got the degree, you got the job, you got the husband, you got the kids, you did everything you were supposed to do. How did you do it? And one of the things that one of this a therapy that I started with when I started healing, and it was led by this wonderful woman who, one of the affirmations that she gave me to say constantly was, I am created perfect for my purpose. And I have come to believe that so strongly, that I came here to live this life in this way, in this crazy, flawed way where, I've fucked up, and I've done stupid shit, and I've waited too long, and I missed opportunities, and others came along, and I've lived a life that has been not smooth in any particular way, that has had so many challenges, that I have felt so inadequate living. But I know that I did this for a purpose. I came here for a purpose, and I feel like I chose these circumstances for myself. And part of the reason for that is I feel like I'm here to help in our evolution as humanity, as we all are, to reach for a better way, to evolve, to grow, to expand, to change. And I feel like because I have gone through this path and I understand it so personally, I can offer, some support to people who are going through this as well. I can offer insight so that they don't have to take as long as I did. I can offer a shoulder to cry on for anybody who's in it. And it has expanded my heart so much, because in having to accept my shortcomings, my pain, my weaknesses, my mistakes, in having to do all these things, I've had to expand my ability to hold compassion for myself and for others. My heart has become bigger because of that. And so it has also been such a great blessing for me. It has been to be on this path. It's so unique. It's so painful. It's so challenging. But it's also magnificent in its own way, in the effects that I'm feeling from it. And now that I feel like I am finally on the path of really being the person that I know I am, I'm so grateful, so grateful for my journey. Yeah. So I feel like I started off wanting this video to be about being a late bloomer, but I feel like it's more than that. And I just want to encourage anybody who does feel like they're blooming late. Some of the best things bloom late, don't they? And isn't it nice, if you're in a garden and there's like all these flowers that bloom, and then they hit their prime, and maybe they start to wither, or they form, they go into the next phase of their development or whatever, and then there's just like a couple of flowers that are the late bloomers. Doesn't it add some specialness to them? It's just like, oh, like you're still in the flower phase, and that's so beautiful, and I love to see you. I feel like that in itself is some specialness. And so anybody who is in that space of being a late bloomer is special to me, in my eyes. And I could be biased because I'm thinking about myself as well. And now I'm rambling, so I'll end the video here. Be encouraged. Yeah, leave your comments below. I'd love to talk to you guys. And about this or anything else. Also, if you have any ideas about stuff you want me to talk about, if you have any questions, or yeah, just holla. Leave a comment below, like, share, subscribe if you haven't already. And yes, find me on social media where you can also ask me questions. Tarure Gatere on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. I am sending you so much love. Thank you for being here and thank you for watching. And yes, remember, I'd forgotten it for a moment. Remember, above everybody else, you deserve your own unconditional love and acceptance. Yes, you, late bloomer, as well. Okay, I'll see you in the next video. Bye. Mwah.